All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine. Going to be getting into this Monday showdown slate between the Jets and the Falcons. And honestly, guys, it's not really one that I'm excited about. It's going to be one that is going to be tough to predict. I don't know what it is about kind of the Falcons and the Jets in the preseason. I think it's just their beat writers are not good at like seeing who's popping in camp. And also the reporting on it is just kind of poor. So the standout plays, we really don't know. And also part of it is just that they're kind of deep in the positions, and a lot of those players are just not really popping on film. So it is going to be a little bit more difficult of a slate to predict, unlike last night's slate or yesterday's games, which basically was very easy to predict. So probably going to be harder to have a good lineup, which might mean it's going to be easier to like take down a GPP because in a sense, like with the plays not being as obvious, it's going to be hard to make like a great build, which if you do kind of put it all together, you're more likely to gain an edge on the field because, you know, the amount of quality plays are just not as obvious today. So we'll get into it. I'll kind of show you guys what I mean. And once again, if you guys do like this video, please give me a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. I do appreciate that. But we are getting into it. Like starting off, we're going to get into the Jets. So the Jets, we do know what's going to happen at the quarterback situation. Zach Wilson is out. Joe Flacco is going to sit, which means we're going to get Mike White and Chris. I don't want to butcher his last name. I like both of them. They're probably both going to play a full half. Chris has a little bit more rushing upside, I would say. He is someone that has rushed a decent amount. He rushed the ball 31 yards in the last game. Okay, like I don't mind him. He is someone for the Jets that I really don't mind, just given his rushing upside. Not a bad play. Mike White also, obviously, if he's going to play a full half, that is something that intrigues us. Getting into the running backs, though, not much that I love. I should start off with saying I know I said Joe Flacco is not going to play, but the starters for the Jets are not really expected to play too much, which obviously that's good. But also, I don't think the backups for the Jets are all that good. Okay, so that's the problem here. I will say I do like LaMichael P. Ryan. He did look good in the last game, kind of playing for a roster spot as well. He had 10 rushes for 51 yards, and he looked good. Like he's always been someone that has the natural ability to make defenders miss and whatnot. Just for some reason, he hasn't been able to put it together, but maybe this will be kind of the preseason that he puts it together and, you know, is able to make the team. He probably should make the team, but he does need to have good camp to ensure that kind of roster spot lock. Knight was someone that did have a touchdown in the last game, but that's not really why I like him. I like him because of what he did in the return game. Really looked explosive there. And I do find it funny that teams are like practicing kickoffs and punts like they're actually kicking to the returners because they're trying to get looks from players on special teams, because obviously in the season they're not going to do that. We're not going to see someone from the Dallas Cowboys score 2 touchdowns in a game because they're just not going to kick to players like that. Just I found that interesting. But those 2 running backs, I don't mind. If you want to play them, by all means, go ahead and do it. I just don't love it. And then looking at the receiver spot also very difficult to predict. Like Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, and Braxton Berrios probably shouldn't play all that much, if at any at all. That really just leaves us with like Jeff Smith and Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims is someone that for sure is playing for a roster spot. You guys know how I feel about Denzel Mims. If you've seen me talk about Tyquan Thornton, I don't think Mims is that good. He's a skinny, fast guy, which, sure, if you just don't get beat deep, you're going to be able to cover him. He did have 5 targets, 2 catches for 25 yards. Like the deep ball, long playability is going to be there, and really all it's going to take is one play for him to hit, kind of like Devon Carter, the Eagles Olympian from yesterday's slate, where he literally just had 1 catch for a deep ball touchdown, got behind the defenders, and it was an easy touchdown. That could be what happens for Denzel Mims in this one. So, sure, if you're playing a couple of the quarterbacks, put in Denzel Mims, but for the most part, I just don't like it. If you wanted to play like the Jets D, by all means, I don't mind that. And then getting into the Atlanta Falcons, probably the obvious play on the slate is going to be Desmond Ridder. So, Felipe Franks is a tight end, okay? And he's not that good. So he's not that good of a quarterback. So that's why he's been practicing at tight end. At least with Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota probably not going to play all too much, maybe a quarter. But at the very least, we know that Desmond Ridder should get a full half of football in this one. And he looked good. He rushed the ball a decent amount as well. So I love him as a captain's pick. But if he's going to be rushing the ball that much, that kind of hurts the running backs here as well. So like Tyler Algier, like he looked good in a limited sample size last week. It would make sense to get him a little bit more work in this one as well. It'll be interesting to see his playing time, because if he doesn't play all that much, that kind of tells us fantasy football wise that, hey, they like him a little bit more than, you know, we would have previously thought. If he plays a lot in this one, then maybe they see him more as a developmental player. So something to watch for sure. I think he's a solid play, but maybe not someone you want to go crazy with. After that, it's just a bunch of guys there for the Falcons. Like, I don't want to go crazy with any one of them. And then getting into like the receivers, it's a guessing game as well. They really spread the ball out a lot. Like it's crazy. Like no one really stood out. Like Cameron Batson, sure, he can get open. Auding Tate, he is kind of a red zone threat. You look at Zacchaeus, Geronimo Allison, Demir Bird, like those are all veteran players. Same thing with Tate. Like you don't expect them to get a lot of work. Like really the only one play that makes sense is going to be Frank Darby, who didn't get that many targets in the last game, and maybe you don't even have to play a receiver with Desmond Ridder. I suggest that you do. That typically is the route to go, but maybe you don't have to. I will say maybe we just go Young Ho Koo and the Falcons defense as well. It's kind of a bad slate. I apologize, guys. I wish I had more plays for you. But that's just it. That's part of my analysis sometimes. It's kind of knowing when a slate is not a good slate, because that's half the battle, is knowing when to attack a slate and not to attack a slate. This is one for me. I don't think it's one that we can predict. And maybe you have like one good build that carries your slate, and that could happen. But for the most part, I think we're going to be making a lot of bad builds on the slate. So for the most part, I would suggest kind of just staying away from this, live to die another day, if you will. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like. Let's do that again. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe. The send-off is terrible, but let's get lucky on this slate. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing. I'm terrible. That was a terrible send-off. This slate just got me all flustered. All right, guys, I'm out. Thanks for watching.